How's it going, Ping Pirates crew? It's been a while, but it's your boy Adrian, and we're back with another video. So I haven't been uploading because it's been really tough on my schedule since it's coming around final season, but we finally got some time to just sit down and play some games. We got James playing Zoro on the left and me playing Doflamingo on the right. I've been thinking about taking Doflamingo to Treasure Cup for this Saturday, but I'm still kind of iffy on it. It is the deck that I have the most experience on. I've been playing it since OP1, and it's the deck that I'm just most comfortable with, but it struggles here and there, so I've been kind of experimenting with different things. I think James is going to go with Zoro, though, for this Saturday. But wish us luck, and I hope you guys find some luck in your games. How did you guys do? Let me know in the comments from last Saturday. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get started. I mulliganed my first hand. I didn't see Doflamingo or Perona, which was really bad for me, so I'm just going to put down my life. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I think I won the die roll here, so I'm going to be going first. I usually love going first against Zoro because I get to place my Perona or Doflamingo down. Unfortunately, I didn't see either of them my first turn, so I'm just going to go ahead and pass my turn one. I also like it because they're probably not going to block a 7k on your first attack if you do, get that Perona or Doflamingo off, so it puts you ahead just a little bit. But James is going to get his really good optimal turn one play. He's going to play out the Nami, and he's going to search out a Radical Beam. That's going to be really bad news for me in the late game because a lot of the time with these games, they could really come down to the wire. And with Radical Beam, it's actually so hard to come out with lethal sometimes. And he gets a double Nami start, which is a really strong start for him. So he's going to go ahead and look at the top 5 and search the rest. I don't know why he's drawing so slow here, but he's going to go grab a Robin. Robin is really good in this matchup. If you pair it with an Otama, usually I don't want to protect things on my board. So if he ends up swinging like 5 or 6k at something and then popping something else, that could be really detrimental to my strategy because I need to go wide in this game. So I'm just going to go ahead and swing 5, play my Doflamingo turn. He's going to counter out with a Makino. I actually kind of like that because he's probably not going to counter out anything on his board. I'll be swinging, too big of numbers for him to protect things. So, just giving away that Makino play early will help him just rely on the 9-cost turn. Playing Whitebeard is kind of the way that you win this matchup as Zoro. I actually think this is very Doflamingo favored, and that there aren't a lot of ways to win as a Zoro player if you don't have the 9-cost Whitebeard in hand. So just preserving life is a pretty viable strategy in my opinion, because you're not going to use those counter cards for board. So he's going to swing 5k at me, and I'm just going to counter out with a Boa. I usually like to counter out aggressively in the early game, especially if I have a lot of cards in hand, because next turn, I'm not going to be playing anything from my hand. I'm just going to be summoning something, out of my deck. So I don't really need to worry about hand size too much until, I'm getting down to 3 or even 4 cards. And then even then I have Love Beams that can help me get through that. So I'm going to go ahead and swing 7k, use my leader skill, swing at his face, and summon out a Jinbei. I only have one Treasure Cup Jinbei, so I'm only running the one. This is the one and only here, and this is really good into Zoro because they do want to clear your board. And then I'm just going to swing 5k at his leader here. I swing 5k because I realize in the middle of my turn that this is probably going to get popped. He could swing 5 with Gordon and then bottom deck it, pop it with Robin. So might as well get an extra swing out of that, be aggressive. And then I'm going to place down the Perona to do a restack. But as I was saying earlier, the Jinbei is so good in this Zoro matchup because Zoro wants to kind of keep up with you in board, because they want to go wider than you can so they could just swing at your face. But the Jinbei kind of stops that because it's this 5k swing that they have to commit to, and then even if they do get it off board, they're losing something on their own side of the field, which is not too good for them, right? Because it's taking out a swing, it's taking out a potential attacker, and it's just overall not good for them. But we're going to see James on the crackback. He's on 6 Dawn. There's a lot of options that he could do here. He has a full board, so he can potentially, go for my life, swing out with all his characters. He probably doesn't want to do that, though, if he doesn't have, a way to refill the board with, Dodons and Namis. But it's still pretty good. He still has a lot of options here. He could definitely go for my board here, especially with the blocker Doflamingo. So it might be a little bit of trouble for him to figure out what to do. But I think he's gonna definitely just start out with the attaching onto the Zoro leader. That's a good start. A lot of plays just get activated with that leader skill. And I think he's just thinking about how he wants to do this, right? Because he has the Gordon, which can swing 5k and then, get bottom decked, and then he could combo that with the Robin. So I think he's gonna start off with that play. It looks like he'll be swinging 5. I think he's swinging 5 leader here, which I will take. I take here because I want more counter power in my hand for my board, because in my head, I think he's going to swing board here and try to clear it, because he has such a wide range of characters right now. Like, I could only reasonably take out 2 of them if he doesn't, swing at my Jinbei, right? So he's going to pay 1 Dawn, boost up Nami to 5k, and this is going to be a 6k swing. It looks like at my leader, so I'm gonna counter out 2k. I usually do like to save my counter cards for my life and not my board, because I can refill my board really easily while still taking things off of his board, so it's actually not too bad for me. So he's gonna go ahead and bottom deck that Gordon, like we said. He's gonna subtract the cost of the Jinbei to 3,000, and he's gonna have another Makino in hand, which is really sucky for me, because he's gonna swing another 6k into my face. It looks like I'm gonna counter another 2k, and then another 6k to face here, and then he's going to swing this one into the Doflamingo, which I am gonna let through, and then he's gonna go ahead and pop the Jinbei, and I'm just gonna bottom deck his Robin. So this is what I mean, right? Like, he clears my Jinbei, which is really good for him, gets a 5k off the board, but then I get to clear his Robin, which, now on the crackback, I have a play where I could swing Perona into Makino, swing my leader into Makino, and he only has 2 Robins left on his board, while I'll have, 2 like 4 costs because I'm on 7 Dawn. But he ends up swinging 6k into my face again, and I'm already at 3 life here, and he has a full board, so this is pretty threatening because he hasn't given me a lot of cards out of his hand. But I do have a large range of options here. So first, I'm just going to swing 2k into the Makino, just get that through. He's probably not going to protect that. And then, of course, I just want to swing 5k into the other Makino. It looks like I have probably like a 3 cost and a 4 cost play. So for 4, I'm going to play the Gecko Moria, and yes, I do. So this is really what you want to do against Zoro. For any Doffy players out there, I'm like speaking in my perspective. I love using Gecko Morias to get back Doflamingos. I think it is kind of the essential cycle card that you want to go through. Like, a lot of your game plans shift depending on which matchup you're going for, and I think with Zoro, it is essential that you have your Gecko Morias bring you back blockers, like Boa Hancock or Kuma. But most importantly, Doflamingo, because it fits with your odd curve. And then also you get like infinite restacks, right? Which is really important because you really need to be churning out these like high cost cards with your leader skill. And then all of a sudden, like, look, it was looking really bad for me before, and now look at the board state. I just have complete control of the board. I have a blocker up. I have a 5k on the board. He can swing into my Perona, but that's him wasting an attack, right? So that's another good thing about these chumpy cards like Doflamingo and Perona. They have to choose whether or not to like waste an attack to swing at it. And if they're wasting an attack to swing at something like a Perona, that's really good for me because it's kind of like a pseudo blocker, right? And that's kind of a hard decision for them to make because the Perona is going to keep chipping away at their board one at a time. So it's actually something very threatening to their board. So it's kind of a hard decision to make. But you're going to see Perona is going to stay on the board. Kind of a little bit of a spoiler. James chooses to just swing at face, which I actually think is the right play. He's going to swing 5k at my face. I'm just going to counter 1k. I'm countering aggressively with my life here because I have nothing to protect on board. So I don't need to worry about anything on board right now since nothing is rested but the Perona. So I'm just going to use the counter cards that I have in my hand to protect my board. And then I'm just going to erase whatever he attacks with on the crackback. So he's going to attack 6k into me. I don't want to give him 2 cards. So I get a Mihawk off the life. So when he swings 6k at me again, I'm ready with that 2k and he's going to hit the Dodon. And look at the top 5 here. And I think this is actually, yeah, he's going to miss this Dodon, which feels really bad. But I mean, with the amount of 1-cost character cards he was drawing earlier, like it kind of was bound to happen. And then I'm going to get back all the way up to 9 Dawn here. And this is looking really good for me. Not in terms of life here, but in terms of board state, I really like this because I'll get to swing 2k into this Nami. He's probably not going to want to protect that. And then I could just swing at his board. And this is the state that I want to be in. I want him to swing at my board and for me to swing at his board. And I want this to go over and over again until I could eventually just chip away at him, right? So I'm going to swing 7k into his Zoro. Again, that 7k is so powerful because I'm summoning out a 5k and I'm just removing something off of his board that he can't really reasonably counter out of. So I'm going to swing 7k at him with the Gecko Moria. I want some chip damage in here. And then I'm going to spend 4 to play the Kuma. And look at this board state. Like, this is the reason why I think Doflamingo, like, if Zoro did not have the 9 cost Whitebeard, this matchup would be so messed up. Because, like, how do you even come back from this board state without 9 cost? And speaking of it, I actually swing with everything that I can in this turn because he's going to play the 9 cost this turn. And that's another thing that you want to do. Against Zoro players, I like to just full swing board before this power play that they have, because if he plays the 9 cost Whitebeard here, then that means he's only going to be able to clear like 1 thing on board pretty much, 2 if he wants the Perona, but again, like, you know, he's probably not going to want to do that. He's going to want to attack face. But it's just like, it's crazy to me how like fast Doflamingo could just rebuild a board and how hard it is for Zoro to come back. So he's kind of laying out his Dawn, just kind of planning out what to do here. This is, I think, the most complicated thing about Zoro, is just like thinking about the math with the plus 1000s and like the Magras and Makinos. So these turns are really pivotal. But yeah, I'm just kind of waiting here. In my opinion, you know, 3 cards in hand, I would try my best to go for board. We've played this matchup a lot and we have talked through it, so James kind of knows what to do. And this is like not a situation where I think that you should go for face, just because you're in so much danger of taking a lot of damage next turn. And then also, but also this board state gets really tricky, right? Because if I end up blocking with this Kuma, a Pacifista might come out, which is a bigger problem for you to deal with, because I could just, you know, attach 1 Dawn to it and all of a sudden it's swinging magic numbers. So it looks like this is going to be a, it looks like a 7k swing into my leader. And I'm just thinking about whether it's going to be smart to get rid of 2 cards out of my hand or maybe use a blocker. But in this case, I am going to give him 2 cards. I don't want to give him my blocker just yet because I don't know how big he's going to swing with. And then it's smart. He's very smart. He swings 5k here. He's going to swing 5k. I'm just going to block. I think he's swinging at my Gecko Moria. And then he's going to swing 6k. Looks like 6k at Gecko Moria. And then I'm just going to block with the Kuma, use my last card to play a Pacifista. And then in my head, I'm thinking if he wants to play the Rush Zoro to, you know, if he wants to play the Rush Zoro to pop something, that's completely fine with me. Because again, I could just completely wipe his board and he kind of completely wasted a turn, right? And even if I go down to 0 cards in hand, that's fine. Doflamingo is like one of the best decks to have like 0 cards in hand, because you could kind of just not play any cards. Like you could play the card that you draw and then you could swing and just summon something out of your deck. So it's actually not too bad to not have a hand. And then he swings it over back to me, 3 Dawn up. And right now, like, I'm kind of thinking maybe he has like just a bunch of rad beams, but I know that 2 rad beams is like kind of the standard, so I'm going to draw the card. I think at this point I've stacked my deck, so I knew that I was going to draw something playable. So I'm just going to swing 2k with the Perona, you know, 5k at the Dawn to clear his board. And at this point, I'm going to swing 7k. I think I'm actually pre-putting Dawn before I start swinging at his life, just so that I don't get Jet Pistol triggered. And I'm thinking about whether to put that Dawn on Boa Hancock as well. But I think I have a play that I want to do. So I'm going to swing 7k into the Zoro's life. And then I'm going to rest 3, go and play a Doflamingo, and then get a restack in. And I wish I could see my stacks that I'm doing. Maybe for another video, I'll like hold my hand out a little bit more so you guys could see my stacks and I could talk about, you know, like what I'm thinking throughout them, because I think that's like the most important thing about Doffy, right? But for the most part, like I'm just looking for things that I could summon, and also just bottom decking unplayable cards, you know, making sure that I draw into 2Ks, going for that like draw summon draw pattern. And then I'm going to put 2 Dawn under the Boa Hancock before I swing. This is to avoid any jet pistol trigger. That was like a huge misplay in my opinion. I should have done that way before, but I just didn't know what my play was gonna look like. So I'm gonna go ahead and swing 8K. He's gonna rad beam. And then I'm gonna go ahead and restack. At this point, I could have potentially swung with the Boa as well. That might have been a good play, but I'm, you know, with no cards in hand, I'm really scared that he could just perfect math me, because then, you know, he could swing 5K with the Nami, he could swing 7K with a Zoro, and then if he has something like a Rush Zoro, I just lose the game, which is something I don't want. So I have to leave these blockers up, because he actually has a substantial amount of cards in hand, so, you know, like, it's kind of scary. But, you know, he's leaving 10 up. He's going to go ahead and play the 9 cost, swing 7K into my leader, and then I'm just going to go ahead and block with the Doflamingo there. I do not want to take the life. I don't really want to go down to 1 life while staring down this 9-beard, because I want to be able to at least like safely take out, or safely take 1 of its hits, right? And this is kind of the hard part of playing this matchup, was now the 9-beard is out. I have to swing, you know, 7Ks at him. And this is kind of a tough deal to figure out, right? Because now he could just give me 1Ks for each of my swings. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 on Gecko Moria, put 1 on Pacifista. You know, I don't want to get Jet Pistol triggered. I'm wondering if I should put Dawn on my Doflamingo to save it, but, you know, I think I elect not to do that just because it's just too much of a Dawn investment. And I'm going to put 2 onto the Boa. So I'm going to swing 7K here, resting 1, summoning out a Gecko Moria. 6K, he's going to get rid of a Sunny. Then I'm going to swing another 7K here. He's going to get rid of a Magra. And this is what I mean, right? Like, I'm swinging 7Ks, and then he's going to get rid of a Brook. So I took 3 cards out of his hand, which is really good. But now I'm kind of in a dire situation where he just needs to land 3 hits on me. I could potentially block 2 of them if he doesn't, you know, have like a Gordon or an Otama in hand. But this is kind of a tough situation. So I think I'm faking Love Beam here. Or more specifically, I'm hoping I draw Love Beam from life if he goes for game. But I don't think he ever goes for game in this situation. It's just too risky. Because with 2 blockers, I don't think he has it. So he's going to go ahead and try to pop this Boa Hancock by placing down the Otama. And this is where it gets really dicey for Doflamingo, because with this huge 10K on the board that could potentially, you know, pop other things, it's really difficult to take the board back from this situation, because now what he can do is he can just fully take out my board, and there's like nothing I can really do about it. And that's really tough for me to deal with, because now it's going to be a lot more difficult for me to kill him on the crackback, because he has so much Dawn left. He has, I think that's 6 Dawn left to power up his other thing. So of course I'm just gonna have to let this go through. I take a while here and it's kind of like playing poker, right? Like, I'm thinking about whether I should counter this. I obviously don't even have enough to counter. So but yeah, he swings 6K at the Gecko Moria, and then I'm like, oh, I'm still thinking, but I don't even have enough. So honestly, this is pretty funny. I'm just thinking if I should block too, and we're kind of talking through it. I'm wondering if I should block for this Pacifista, because if I potentially block, he could still swing into my Pacifista and just fully clear my board. So I think I elect against it, because, you know, the blocker, he has to commit removal to get it off my board, while the other things on my board he could just swing with. So that's kind of my rationale with it. Like, if he doesn't have something like a Rad Beam in hand, I could actually just take the game if I have, you know, one other thing other than this blocker on the board. But I do end up going through with that swing. I lose my Pacifista there. I'm not going to block with the Doflamingo. And then he continues on with his turn. He only has one card in hand. So with 6 Dawn up, I mean, there's a lot of things he can do here, like just go for life. But it's kind of scary, right? Because if he ends up missing lethal here and not swinging at board, he could potentially die. And then like if he doesn't swing enough Dawn, so he's going to swing, it looks like that's going to be 6k with the Nami onto the Gecko Moria. I only have one card in hand. I don't know if it's a counter, and I don't think it is. Oh, it is. Okay, so it's Perona. I do this because I want him to swing 6k again into my 6k Gecko Moria. And I'm hoping he doesn't have the Rush Zoro here to swing again at my 5k. But I don't think he has it here because he would have played it that one turn where he was trying to get rid of something. So I'm kind of hoping that he doesn't. But he ended up drawing it or picking it off life. And this is where I'm going to get rid of my blocker here. And this is kind of the pivotal turn, in my opinion. So I can't go for game. I have to go for board in this situation. And I actually make a huge misplay here. So I'm going to talk through it. So I need to clear his board. He has 0 cards in hand, which is really good for me because that means that I can swing 5, or I could attach 5, swing 10 into this new gate and have nothing to worry about. But I'm going to Perona, and on this stack, I actually get a teach, which is super important because I don't even think about this play until after. The correct play to do here is just clear his entire board, summon out the teach, because then I could swing 10k into the new gate, 5k into the Zoro, and then what I can do is I can either teach the Nami or the Otama, so he has one less attacker in hand, and it's probably going to be the Otama, right? Because if I bounce back Nami, he could potentially get another Rush Zoro, but I make a huge misplay and just miscalculate it. I don't see that play because how often do you want to bounce, like a Perona or a Nami? So I don't see it until the end of the game, but it's a game that definitely, it's something that really makes a difference in this game. So I'm thinking really hard about my stack and thinking about, is there anything that I can do to kind of make it better? I think what I do is I stack like I'm gonna have Love Beams in hand, just because I don't need to really attach anything else, right? So if I end up getting a Love Beam off the top of my stack, that'll be really good. So I swing 5k or 10k into his new gate, and then he can't counter because he has no cards in hand. I get a restack, and this is where I'm just like, oh man, I really should have bounced back like a teach or something. Well, I should have bounced back the Otama with teach. So I'm gonna go ahead and then with that restack, swing 5k at the Zoro, and this is where I'm like hoping, right? Because if he doesn't have a Rush Zoro, I mean, there is a chance that he might, not have it. And also, if I have Love Beam in life, that could also just save me the game. So I think he ends up drawing like a Robin there or something. So he's gonna pre-attach all of his Dawn, He's gonna swing 5k at my leader. Of course, I have no cards in hand, so I'm gonna take. And then I think he goes 7k onto his Zoro. So yeah, he's thinking about just how much Dawn is optimal. I think the optimal amount of Dawn is just swing 7k at Zoro because I can't counter out of a 7k, and then just put all of your Dawn on Otama and swing. Because that'll be like what? It's 2 7k swings, I think, right? Because it's 6k, so I have to have a 2k and a 1k, which we'll see if I have. And then this is a 7k swing, and I only have 2 1ks, so it's really tough. And then I realized that this teach, I could just bounce this Otama, so we're just talking about it. But it's a really close game there. I wish I made that play because he was definitely dying on the crackback. So just remember, like, to always be, conscious of the plays that you can make, even though they're outside of the box. So that's going to be the end of this video today, guys, but we have more gameplay and more kind of meta matchups for you guys that I can talk over, but let me know what matchups you guys want to see in this upcoming week. We'll see if we could kind of squeak them out, maybe get a couple of web games in, if anything. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope that, you know, whatever you're doing, whether that be like work, school, anything in your life, I hope that's going well for you, and I'll see you on the next one.